Welcome back to Her Rules Radio. I'm Alexandra Jameson, your hostess. So excited to have you back here today. We're going to be talking about how to end shame and imposter syndrome with the same tool, with the same practice. I'm so excited to share this with you. And today's show is brought to you by my brand new book, Radical Alignment, coming out August 11th, 2020 from Sounds True Publishing. This is the book that I co-authored with my amazing husband, Bob Gower. It's all about how to have really transformational conversations that will change your business if you're in business, but it'll change the rest of your life too. It's the main tool of how we communicate in our family. And today's show really touches into the heart tool that we share in Radical Alignment called the all-in method. I'm going to connect all these dots here, so stay with me. If you're like me, you have struggled with shame and imposter syndrome. Yes, I have struggled with these in my life. And when you experience shame, it's different from guilt. Guilt is, I did something wrong. Okay, I did something harmful, hurtful, illegal, etc. Shame is, I am wrong. I am unfixable. I am unlovable. I am worthless. People who experience shame live with this constant fear of being rejected or abandoned. And experts believe that shame is a human evolutionary trait to kind of help us keep in line a little bit, like to help us stay acting properly so that we can take care of each other, so that we are trustworthy, right? It keeps family groups and community groups. If there were no shame at all, if shame weren't built into us evolutionarily, we might just all totally go off the rails. Who knows? But we've got it. It's there. And we live with it. But we can become trapped in these avoidance strategies that we come up with to escape the pain of shame. And if left untreated, it grows so powerful in us. It can lead us into behaviors that invite even greater shame, right? I've had friends and family who have used drugs or alcohol or shopping or overwork. There's a million different things, avoidance strategies that we come up with to avoid the feelings of shame. And I'm going to show you the one thing that has been studied and shown to dissolve both imposter syndrome and a certain type of shame. And I'll go into that definition in a moment. And I'm going to show you how to use the all-in method, the tool at the heart of our book, Radical Alignment, which works to dissolve both shame and imposter syndrome. Now, why I'm so excited is that really huge new information for me came to my attention. I'm doing my own work on the side. I'm always learning something. That's one of my strengths, is love of learning. And I'm currently in this course created in part by Bessel Van Der Kolk, the author of the foundational book, The Body Keeps the Score, in this special course on shame from the National Institute for the Clinical Application of Behavioral Medicine. That's a big name. Try saying that fast. Anyway, in this work on shame, what we're really talking about is one specific kind of shame, which is a shame that actually doesn't have any basis in reality. It's a shame that's really an unfounded fear. So there are definitely shames that people have because they did something wrong. Perhaps, think murderers, right? People who are in prison who actually broke the law or hurt someone, they have shame that is based in reality. But a lot of us, myself included, are walking around suffering with a lot of shame that's not based in fact. It's not a reality. It's just a fear. It may be something from childhood that's a voice of one of our parents or a sibling that just repeats endlessly in our minds, and we become ashamed. It may be, the fear of being shamed. by someone else. It may be, I don't know if I'm good enough, or people are going to see that I'm not good enough, which then tilts over into imposter syndrome. And both of these, right, this unsubstantiated shame that we might feel and imposter syndrome, they often present with depression or anxiety that can get in the way of doing well at work or feeling satisfied at work, and burnout. But there's one counterintuitive technique that can remove the fear and rejection from this type of shame and imposter syndrome. Now, imposter syndrome, which is also sometimes called the fraud police, I've talked about it on the show before, imposter experience. It really describes those of us who, despite our objective success, like other people would look at us and say, oh, well, look at the things you've done. You're amazing. You are obviously smart. You have demonstrated you're responsible. You have demonstrated you can create things in the world. Despite that objective success list, people with imposter syndrome, note to self, we fail to internalize our accomplishments. And we have this persistent self-doubt and fear of being exposed as a fraud or imposter. And people with imposter syndrome struggle with accurately attributing our performance to our actual competence. So you see, there's a similarity there between that and that foundationless shame, right? That shame that has no basis in reality, no facts to back it up. It's just kind of this overwhelming suspicion that we're not good enough, this overwhelming suspicion that we're bad and that we're wrong and that we're unfixable and unlovable, that kind of shame. See how that aligns with this imposter syndrome attribute, where people with imposter syndrome struggle to accurately attribute our performance with our actual competence. So it's that basis in reality piece that I find so fascinating. Right? I've had clients who are incredible. They're top saleswomen. They're like the top of their field. They're leaders. They're MDs. They're PhDs. And even though they have all these letters after their names, or they've gotten the biggest bonus, or they're the top salesperson in their country that year, there's still this piece of them that's unfounded, that they're unable to connect their outer success with their inner abilities and self-worth. They're still afraid that it's all because of luck, or it's all because, people just aren't seeing the truth about me. They're going to find me out. And the only studied methods for helping people with both imposter syndrome and this kind of basisless shame is to talk about it. Yes. Okay, so back in 1985, this paper came out by these two women, their last names Matthews and Clance, where they described their experiences, both therapists, in private practice, caring for people with imposter syndrome feelings. And what they did was they recommended over time validating their patients' doubts and fears, directly addressing fears of failure, and providing group therapy sessions, since these patients always feel isolated and they always feel alone experiencing their shame and imposter syndrome feelings. All right? This is what we're talking about. We're talking about courageously getting brave enough. It's okay to feel the fear and do it anyway, and start sharing your secret shame and imposter syndrome. This is why the work that I've done in the past 10 years in women's groups, coaching women's masterminds, has been so powerful. I never had the data to back it up. I just knew that it worked. Providing a safe place, and by a safe place, I mean I am the leader of the group and I am going to create and explain the rules of engagement here. We are going to share our most vulnerable parts, our imposter syndrome feelings that we're not good enough, that we've gotten here by luck, that we're not successful enough, that people are going to see us for the loser that we really are, and the shame and the fear of being ostracized. When we share those in a space where there is a set of rules where you feel like, okay, it's psychologically safe for me to share these things out loud with this group of people. I trust the conversation leader. In this case, it's me, the coach. So much healing happens. So how can you start to implement this in your life? Well, I'm going to teach you the all-in method right now and how you can start using it. And this is the all-in method that we wrote about in our book, Radical Alignment, that's coming out August 11th, 2020. I want you to go get the book. Get the book, get the book, get Radical Alignment. See, I just made up a jingle for it. So here's how you use the all-in method. It's very simple, but there's a few pieces that you want to set the stage with before you have this conversation with anyone. And if you're going to go into your areas of shame, whether it's body and food, whether it's work, whether it's relationship, whether it's past action, whether it's some family stuff, you want to choose someone that is either really important to the conversation that you trust, or choose a friend or family member who you feel very, very supported by, who you want to have this first attempt at a sharing conversation with. So I'll teach you the 4 steps of the all-in method, but to set the scene, I want you to reach out to them and be very clear. Say, hey, I have this thing that I really need to talk about. And I would love for you to meet with me, and give them a few times to choose from, like pick a date. And here's the thing that I would like us to talk about, or that I would like to share with you. And I would love to hear your feelings too. And be clear about what the topic is. All right. That clarity piece at the beginning is so key. This is what I want to talk about. And I want to talk about it I want to talk about my imposter syndrome with work, so that I can start to dissolve some of it and have the success that I really, really want. So you can start with that. Then you set the time and you agree to a few ground rules together. Like, we're going to have equal sharing time. You can set a timer, like use your phone. Give each person 5 minutes each. Equal speaking time is actually key. That is part of what creates an equal, equitable dynamic in these conversations. You agree not to speak over each other, and you're not arguing points, right? You're in advance agreeing, like, I have some thoughts and fears that, while they may pertain to you in some way, they're really not about you. These are just the things that my mind has been making up, and I just need to get them out in a safe place and have them heard. So it's not about arguing with each other. It's not about anyone winning. You're simply putting all of the important points out on the table. And you agree in advance, again, that you're not going to try to problem solve. This is not a problem solving conversation. You're just going to share. And you may spend half an hour on it, maybe an hour. So just get those things out clear in advance. Then you go into the conversation. So your intention is to what? You want to share about your imposter syndrome or your shame or your fears, so that I can start to release them and really get to the root of where they come from. And why? Why is the conversation about this topic important to you? Why is talking with this person about this topic important? What is it about this person that you appreciate? Start off with that. And the intentions are usually pretty brief and pretty to the point. What's your intention in talking about this topic? Then after you have both shared for an equal amount of time, and there's no rush, right? If you have 5 minutes each and one person needs to sit and think for a minute, that's fine. Let the time go. Let the timer just run. Take a moment to experience taking a breath, thinking. Like, that's actually my favorite part of having the timer, is that it gives me a little space. And I know no one's going to talk over me or interrupt me, which really helps calm my nervous system. So the next part, after you've both shared your intentions, your why, is to go into your fears or worries or concerns. Now, this is so important. I think this is part of where the magic is, especially around imposter syndrome and shame. My fears, worries, and concerns, they can get really dark, and that's okay. You've agreed to create a safe place together and share these fears and worries and concerns. You know, you may have a fear that by sharing your shame that you'll feel even more ashamed. Or a worry that if I share these things with you, you'll think I'm a loser and you won't want to be my friend anymore. You know, I've had conversations with my husband, Bob, that, I'm worried that this, if I'm worried that you're going to fall out of love with me and be so irritated with me that we're going to get divorced and I'm going to die alone under a bridge. Communicate all of your fears, all of your worries, as much as feels safe to. Encourage you to go a little bit further than your comfort zone. But if there's something that you just can't share yet, it's okay. Make this a practice. And then let the other person share their fears, worries, and concerns. And again, don't argue points. You don't have to try to make the other person feel better. This is just a space for you each to share. Then you go into your boundaries. And boundaries, think of them as answering two questions. One, what do you need to be your best? Right? What do you need to feel good? I know that my shame or imposter syndrome is relieved when I, move my body outside in nature 3 or 4 days a week. So it could be all the things that help you feel your best. I don't want to drink more than once a week. I don't want to have, I don't want to have chocolate more than once a week, although that sounds insane to me. What are the things that you need to feel your best, whether it's sleep or self-care? But then answer the next part of it. What do you need to feel safe? And it could be, for sure, I want us to keep this conversation completely confidential. I don't want any of this to be shared with anyone, not even written in a journal, not even shared with your closest partner, not even spoken out loud to your dog. That's a boundary. Think about what you need to feel safe and what you need to be your best. And finally, after you've both shared your intentions, concerns, and boundaries, share your dreams. And this is truly my favorite part. When you share your dreams, it's about, if this were to go extremely well, like if I were to never have imposter syndrome or this ridiculous shame again, what kind of person would I be? What would I be able to achieve? Where will I be in 5 years? And what will be true for you? What will be true for my family? What will be true for my work, my community? What kind of impact could we or I or you have on the world if this desire were to come true? And when you share your dreams with someone in this way, you start to release oxytocin together. And oxytocin is that bonding and love, biochemical magic that human beings release together that is actually the antidote to feeling ostracized or cut off by your group, by your family, by your tribe, by your community. So using this 4-part conversation, intentions, concerns, boundaries, and dreams, is a studied and biochemically human way to combat shame and imposter syndrome. I am I can't even tell you, I have seen this happen over and over again. My clients express it to me over and over again after our sessions, that just being able to come and feel safe to share their shames and imposter syndrome worries with me in a non-judgmental space is so relaxing. It's so relieving. And it's proven this is actually what our human bodies and brains need to dissolve the shame and imposter syndrome. So there's nothing wrong with you that you need help with this. This is how we do it. This is how we do it. This is how humans dissolve this unfounded shame and imposter syndrome. I am so excited. Oh my gosh. I want everyone listening to go get Radical Alignment now. Get it on Kindle, order it from your local bookstore, get it on Amazon, wherever. I'm so beyond thrilled. We've shared this really simple method and all the work and the research that sits around it and the tools. There's so many more tools in the book that sit around this that are so useful, like the things that we don't do in our relationship. The the number one relationship rule that we don't follow. That's my favorite. But I'll save that for another show. I hope that this has helped shine a light on and inspire you to courageously start talking about your shame and imposter syndrome in a safe and really effective way. So I hope in the next 24 to 48 hours, you go pre-order Radical Alignment, like go get that baby, and set up a conversation. Share the show with the friend or family member that you want to do this with. Have them listen to it first. Or just reach out to them and be clear, this is what I want to talk about. And these are the ground rules that I would like us to follow in talking about it. This could change everything about how you feel in yourself, about how clear you are with your communication. It could totally change how you relate with the people in your life so that you have clear, appropriate, emotionally intelligent communication with the people who matter most in your life. This is the kind of thing that can shift so much. Your satisfaction, your joy, your health, your self-love, your parenting, your marriage, date. This can change your business and the rest of your life. That's why we made that the subtitle of our book, because we've seen this happen over and over again. Thank you so much for listening. I really want to hear back from you. Get the book. Let me know if you're using it. Hit me up on Instagram at DeliciousAlex, but definitely go to radicalalignmentbook.com. Get the book. Start using the all-in method and let me know how it's going for you. Thank you so much for listening in. Take good care, and we'll be back here next week. Mwah!